some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain.
What is up, everyone? How are you all doing today? Yes, the Queen's Beasts is up on the screen. We're going to be talking a whole bunch of cool stuff today. We're going to be talking about shopping, crypto. Oh, the whiteboard. Y'all see the whiteboard, don't you? Come on now. Yes, the whiteboard is back, but as you can see, she is empty. That's not such a good thing, is it? No, we're going to have to fix that. Oh, we got a bunch of people here. Simone's hanging out with us. Simone says, hey, Klaus, good to see you. And to show you all that the whiteboard is live, check this out. I am going to write something on there. Hold on. Hey, see? Look. Whiteboard is live. I told you, everyone, how freaking cool is that? Getting multiple cameras set up here, hanging out. Sniffs hanging out says, close to home in 2 weeks, my first home purchase. Sniff, good for you, kind sir. Good for you. Sniff getting ready to close in on a house. As you can see, the whiteboard is back. Nice. We're going to be talking crypto. We're going to be talking auctions. We're going to be talking lots of stuff. What about Sol over there? Are any of you getting this vibe that, I don't know, Sol has got a little manipulation pump going on? Because it seems to be a bit much with Sol. Look at Sol right now. Up 14% to 41.20. Crypto Bob in the house. Niva here. Crypto Bob says, Klaus, you old goat, great to see you live and the rest of the chat live. Wonderful seeing everyone. Yeah, I don't know if any of y'all noticed this. Let me fire up just a little bit more light just so you guys can... There we go. Just a little bit more light. Let's do that. Let's see if that helps out here. I've got multiple control centers going on. I got lots of cool stuff going on. But the thing is this. People have been talking about Sol like in the move. I mean, $41. Now, that's still way off of where it was from, but come on now. That's still better than, Jesus Christ, the $20 we've been seeing lately. Juno was up over 100 yesterday. What's up, Sniff? How's it going? Yeah, I know. I'm seeing it. Shada says, silver in the UK isn't worth it with tax. Zero tax on investment in gold, though. Nico hanging out in the house. Interesting you bring that up with silver because, you know, I want to talk about precious metals. I want to talk about, and hey, see, whiteboard can turn on and off. How freaking cool is that? Yeah, I want to talk precious metals because there's a lot of opportunities margin-wise out by me, but a lot of the lots are smaller. And you have to kind of piece together lots to make them really the best bang for buck. Recently, I bought a ring. Okay, I bought a gold, what's it called? It's called a gold nugget style ring. I got a picture of it. I'll find it. Gold nugget style ring. And I got this ring. I had it less than 2 hours in my hands, and I sold it. Sold it for 40% more than what I bought it for. So just kind of interesting to throw it out there. There are big opportunities. I found a silver lot, just throwing it out there. Found it was a silver plated lot, right? It was silver plated, and it was a big box, okay, and it had a whole bunch of stuff in it. It was all plated stuff. And no one was bidding on it. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the deal? So I just started looking through the box. Not like looking through it because you're not allowed to touch stuff, obviously. And I saw this cup. And I was like, wait a minute. That's not a silver-plated cup. Most of these are sterling silver. These are called baby cups. And these are sterling silver and 925 silver. And it was in there. No one ended up bidding on the box till at the end. Ended up getting it for $2. So I already got a piece here that is already, I'm actually auctioning this off actually as we speak. I'm auctioning this one off and I'm already way ahead on it. So there are some moves that you can make. Yeah, report that 40% gain on my taxes. Yeah, cash is amazing, isn't it? But what's interesting about that though is a lot of the lots that I'm finding are quite small. I have found some sterling silver lots, gold. It's been a lot of smaller jewelry lots, so nothing big in terms of like big volume stuff. But you can make some really good margins on your finds out here. Nico says, "How much does it weigh?" Nico, you're gonna love this one, and don't laugh. Don't laugh. This weighs, hold on. Actually, we can do this. Hold on, we can do this live. Give me a second. Hold on. Stop, guys. Stop. I've got this. Wait, don't panic, Klaus. Don't panic. You can do this. Check it out. I actually have a jeweler scale. I actually use this for hand loading because I do my own reloads. So hold on a second. I will tell you exactly what it weighs. Give me a second here. So let me put this scale on, and we're gonna measure this in grams just so y'all could see. Give me a second. Hold on. In grams, we are at 27. Yeah, 27 and change. So 27 and change grams. And so anyways, yeah, $2. Now the funny thing is, I'm already gonna make like percentage-wise tons of money on this. Now gross profit dollars, right? I mean, come on, it's not gonna be a lot, quote, like, you know, money in the pocket type thing. But percentage-wise, it's awesome. And there's stuff like this is way better. Dealer scale is a better distribution. No, I use that for my reloads, okay? The reason I use it for reloading is because it measures 2 decimal points on grams, so I can get very accurate. So I actually know to the 100th of what that is. Yeah, so nearly an ounce. And I bet you, I'm telling you, Nico, this ounce, watch when I sell this ounce. I will sell this ounce for more than spot. Watch what happens. I'll sell it for more than spot, and I paid $2 for it. Now, the rest of the silver that was in that lot that was plated, oh, dude, my son and I can deplate that, one day scrap it or smelt it down. Oh, be good to go. You know, make a whole few ounces out of it. So, yeah, totally happy about it. Totally happy. It is a reloading scale, everyone. A reloading scale. But you could weigh other things very accurately with it. And yeah, Trick's right. It's not always about the weight. And you know what, Trick? That's why what I'm doing is I just put this up for open auction. I'm like, you know what? Let's just have some fun and let it fly. I thought that would be kind of cool to do. So I did. I just threw it out there, and I'm like, you know what? Let's see what happens. I'm going to be picking up a bunch more stuff. Actually, you guys are going to love this. Today there's an auction, and I'm doing quite a bit of shopping, okay? And I'm just going to tell you. Today, it is rougher, and it's actually inscribed. It's got someone's name on it. So that's why it's not pristine, and the person whose name on it has of no historical significance. Give me a quick second here. So yes, I always do make sure to look for provenance when it comes to pieces. But yeah, okay, so here's the deal. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing an auction tonight. And I am actually going to get some furniture, some display pieces. I'm going to get some really cool stuff because I think we should start having a heavy metal show where we talk precious metals. And I'm going to have extra webcams. So I've even been looking up now spare webcams. As you can see, yata. Yeah, I should date it. As you can see, we've got extra cams. That's the whiteboard up there. Looking to set up a whole show, set up a whole side room, the whole other side of the studio over here. Set it up as a really cool place where we could share our stories about recent finds, share stories about recent sells. Maybe people could share pieces they've got collection-wise. Oh, and you know what, everyone? The whole thing is I'm not worried about the percentage because I'm already deep in the green. See, and that's kind of one of the things that for me, it's about hits, just making constant hits, right? If I can keep making constant hits, I'm making percentages on percentages on percentages. So rather, yeah, see, Heavy Metal Mondays. I know, Robert Melvin, I've been stealing that. Heavy Metal Mondays, I love it. With like a different metal intro every day, a hardcore metal intro. But yeah, for me, it's just about stacking profits. And the reason it's about stacking profits is if you have a long-term position and if you have other long-term positions, other long-term investments, you can kind of have different timeline pieces. And for me, I'm able to utilize high margins in my area because there's very little interest. My area has very, very little interest silver when it comes to retail. Yeah, dress in black and wear eyeliner for your Heavy Metal Monday. Yeah, and sing a little bit of Pantera, man. But that's the thing. So for me, there's opportunities out there. The ring I made good money on. I made good money on the ring. It was a marked ring. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing that Heavy Metal Monday show. I think that would be very, very cool to do. Very cool to do. Trick chimes in and says 18 karat gold, 1.6 karat diamond men's ring, 28 grams, London, 1971. I paid $850 for it, valued $8,500. See there, that's what I'm saying. Jewelry I can do good with, right? Now coins, like I said, I don't know anything about coins. Jewelry, yeah, you can make the hits. And so that's what I thought, like we could have a show like this, maybe every other Monday or something like that, or just random Mondays. We could have a show and we could show like finds, like Trick, if you've got something cool, like with a cool story, you could send me some pictures, the email with the story, and like I could share it on the show. And we could have a whole bunch of viewers finds. I could show you what I've been finding at my local auctions, the goodies. We could talk about spot prices in our area. I think it'd be a good way to get a lot of us metal heads together. And since, same thing, right? Gold, silver, I mean, right? Globally traded. I think there's a lot in common here for us. So let me know what your thoughts are. Like I said, I really, really, really want to do it. There's an auction happening today. I'm going to spend some money. We're going to furnish it. We're going to make it look cool, get some display pieces set up. Just have some fun, learn, but have it be about some cool, like just like metals. I just think it's neat. You know, we talk about like digital gold, digital silver. Let's talk about the hard stuff too. We're also going to be talking about crypto. What about Onyx Protocol losing more after a security breach? Inflation on the upswing, leveled off last 2 months. Jerome Powell expected to take a pause. Let's be real here. When that information comes out, which will be in 18 minutes, so if you want to talk other things, now's your time. Ooh, sorry. My throat is absolutely roasted. We had a cold front come in, and I am just my throat is just killing me. We've got Jerome Powell. We'll be talking at 2:30 p.m. So like I said, we got some time to talk some other things. We got some things, time to talk about your questions, your comments. If you got them, post them on the side. Trick says I'd sell it for $2,500. Yeah, exactly. It's metals. I look at metals this way, okay? Same thing. You should have a long-term stacking pile, and you should also have the things that you can make your money on in the shorts. I really believe that principle should apply to not just metals, but like to not just crypto, but to metals as well. X Factor says, I think I'll throw a quarter at it. Powell is evil. I don't know, man. Like, I think the last time I checked, it was like 98% odds. Let's see what the betting odds are. You guys get to see all my porn links here on the side. Let's see, where the hell is it? Here we go. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. Right now, 99% chance. 99.2% chance of a pause and 0.8% chance that it's going to go up. Trick is you need to know how to date your stuff. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too, is I'm still learning. So this would be a great show for people to learn along with me. I'm good at the math of it. I'm good at the math, the margins, the business, and knowing the markets. Like I said, I got rid of that ring in a couple hours. Silver, wait, there's a silver piece that I'm going after. Guarantee you I'm easily going to be able to triple that piece, have it sold within a day. Guarantee it. I'll be able to share that with you hopefully later today. Hopefully I win at that auction. Hack means inside job, prove me wrong. Yeah, totally true. Robert Melvin says, 33 up here got snow for Halloween. My kids got snow as well. My kids are in the Dakotas. Family got snow out in Chicago. Horrible. Shota says, 20% disposable income on metals every week. Ooh, nice. Nice. Nico says, you reckon Powell pulls a rug? Pulls, yeah, does a rug pull. Yeah, I don't know, Nico. I had a couple people calling about that earlier, saying, hey, you know what? It's possible. It's really, really possible that we could see it, but I don't know. I mean, I would want him to. When I look at the data, all right, and when I look at inflation and where the inflation is, all right, I think the issue that I have is that he's getting pressured from other sources, But I also think he's sitting here going, you know what? Like, we can't choke the poor as much anymore, and it's going to take a long time to choke everyone middle class on up, like the upper middle class on up. So I think he's realizing that there is a lag effect, and I think he's hoping for these numbers to naturally comes down. Robert Melvin says, any tips on Silverware? Found a set for cheap. Here's the deal with Silverware. Make sure the stamp is legit. All right? Make sure it is legitimately stamped. And also make sure that the stamping on it is for something silver, okay? There's going to be silverware out there. Here, Robert Melvin, I'll show you, dude. Hold on. Sorry, my head is cold. That cold from really quick. Here, let me show you something really quick. All right, so this piece, hold on. I got to find the right one. Okay, this piece right here. I'll see if you can see it. Let me see if I can get a little bit bigger camera for you here. And I'll give you a little bit better lighting. All right, hold on. Give me a second. I'll show you. I'll show you a real cool tip right here. And this is why I wanted to buy an extra webcam, because I want to be able to show you guys stuff like this. All right, so here's the deal. So this is a spoon, okay? And one of the things is it has stamping on it. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it on here, but it has stamping on it. The stamping on it, though, is for what's known as premium silver plate or multi-layer plating. 4-layer plating, 2-layer plating. Not A1. I don't want to call it A1. Well, A1 isn't they'll call it A1 if it's multiple plated. Their version of top tier they call as A1. But you don't want that, okay? I got this for like pennies. So I could strip this with my son, have some fun, have some dad and son bonding time, make some silver out of it, smelt it down, be good to go. What you're looking for is you want them to be marked sterling. You want a silver marking on there, and you want the silver marking to be verifiable by the mint as well as the year. All right? That is one of the big things. You want to verify that the stamping was all correct, and you want to make sure that the stamping doesn't look, and I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. You want to make sure that the stamping doesn't look too clean for the age. You got to think, like, if something is like razor sharp but everything else looks dull, then you're in for a world of hurt, right? It's got to look matched to it. The die marks, look at the die marks. Make sure you got a jeweler's loupe with you. Even if it's just a basic one, but get like a simple handheld one. You can use it. It is so easy. Love these things, right? Has a light on it, 30, 60, 90 magnification. Really easy to use. You love it. Let's see. Klaus also it does it. It also goes by the shape of the spoon. Yeah, the shape and also in here. Good point to bring up, Trick. The shape and also the detail of the spoon. Okay. So if you look at the detailing, all right, front and back side, you want to look at the detailing and also edging. All right. What is the edging treatment? Some of them are going to have some gold. Some of them are going to be silver. Basically, what you're looking for, though, is make sure that the stamping is legit and the patina and the wear on the stamp. And I'm talking about the actual silver marking, okay? There's going to be a silver marking. It'll say sterling, 0.925, 800. It'll have a marking on there. All right, stars don't count. A1 does not count, okay? That means it's plated. That means it's premium plated. You're looking for that marking, and you want to make sure that that marking is actually on the metal. Now, if it's on the handle, you're going to see there's going to be a difference, okay? And I wish I had a piece here. I might have it in the other room. But most of them are going to have a handle. And here, I'll show you really quick what I'm talking about. What's silver for a handle. Hold on. Hold on. Sterling silver. Silver handle. Hold on. Sorry, guys. We're talking silver, gold here. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Now, a lot of them are going to say sterling silver, okay? And the thing is, though, with sterling silver, yeah, it's going to be the handle that's going to be sterling silver. Not the actual, like, spoon, the metal itself. That'll be stainless. That could be plated, anything like that. But most of the times you're going to see it where just the handle itself is stainless. If it's on the metal, right, if the stamp is on the metal, the actual metal of the spoon, good to go. Otherwise, what you'll notice, it'll be stainless blade or plated, like blade, spoon, knife, whatever, and the handle itself will have its own inscription. So look for the inscription on the handle as well. Sorry about that. Yeah, my bad. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, have some fun with that. I thought you guys would like that. But yeah, I mean, like gold and silver. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We talk about silver. We talk about the strength of metals affecting, the prices of crypto. We talk about the global market reacting to it. Gold is a safe haven asset. Well, what about crypto as a safe haven asset for people that, have to travel a lot? Yes, Nico, I actually do have a testing kit. I have a silver and I've got a gold one for multiple carats. Really cheap to do. You can get them for like 20, 30, 40 bucks. Seriously worth getting it. Get yourself a couple stones. Get yourself a couple really good felt rags. All right. And make sure you always keep like a clean rag, like one that doesn't have any like metal shavings on it. So nothing like gets embedded in there. Like I call it a clean touch rag. Simple. Just put in a little like jewelry box that you get somewhere. Good to go. Nice, easy kit. Yeah, Robert, no problem, man. But big thing you're looking for, Robert, if you're looking to flip it or if you're looking for if it's authentic or not, look for the silver stamping and the sterling stamping, right? Or 800. You're gonna look for stamping, or you're gonna look for like if you see like a lion, that's a certain mint. Like you're gonna see markings that'll help you do that. But basically, make sure you see that though. And no lie, seriously, guys, no lie. Seriously, go get yourself a loop, all right? Go get yourself just a simple, basic loop. It'll help you see it. I literally can go, I could take this, I could look on here, I could be like, oh, okay, cool, perfect, good to go, rock on. I'm done in like 2 seconds. So, Trick says the lab diamonds look very real. Yeah, and have you seen that, Trick? There's a movement going around right now. And it's something that's like, I'm trying to think of what the actual like hashtag or name is, but it's like buy real or like don't support clones, or it's something like that where they're trying to like knock on lab diamonds. Yeah, it crazy stuff with that. I'm you know what? It's like the diamond people are just trying to like keep their own kind of niche, right? I mean, they don't want the blood diamonds going because they want it to go through. They don't want people to be exploited, but we know people are exploited with the regular diamonds anyways, the non-blood diamond ones. Right? They also don't want like the lab stuff or the compressed stuff. I mean, I don't know. Just saying. Pancho Hernandez is not giving up my silver bullets. Nice. We'll do more investigating on the piece and I'll have a loop for other purposes. Yeah, I was going to say, Robert, that's the other thing too, is you get to inspect for mold. See? Dude, crypto with Klaus, heavy metal with Klaus, MJs with Klaus. Red diamonds are the rarest. Thank you, Trick, for the share. See, that's the other thing is I need to get more into that too. The ring, and I wonder, do I have, hold on, give me a second, everyone. Let me see. I wondered if I had a picture of the ring on my desktop, and I don't. I bet you it's on my phone. But yeah, the ring, it was seriously like, it has a nice stone in the front. The stone actually I'm giving it to my niece. I actually bought for my niece a rare what do you call it? A rare a gemstone kit. I actually got her a full gemstone kit. It was really cool. But yeah, here I got the sapphire out of it. I don't know if you could see it that well. I got it in my baggie so I don't lose it. I got the sapphire out of it as well. So yeah, I mean, you got to know what to look for, what the value is in people too, A lot of it out there is you can make good money is if you have a network of people that you could sell to. I mean, think about it. If I buy things at 40-50% off, right? You guys know, right? If I go to a dealer or something, they're going to pay me 70%, maybe 80% a spot. Like, and if you were to go buy stuff, you're going to pay 10-20% over spot. So, I mean, depending on what your premium is locally for you, and per ounce, like for instance for silver and so forth. So, I mean, if I can sell to people, and if you can make a network where you sell to people at spot, the people that are buying from you are saving 20%, and you're also making, 20-30% more depending on if you get 70 or 80% from your local ones. So, yeah, just thought you'd really like it. Yeah, Giganshi says shows the fragility of the diamond market. Easily faked, looks real. It's not just the fact that it's easily faked and looks real. It's the intrinsic value of diamonds. If it looks so real that you could fake people out, And people are like, yo, when I wear this out, you know it's not cubic zirconium, but it's like a man-made diamond, and I could still fake people. That's when that stuff starts taking off in the market. When the copycats are as good as the original, that's when things really, really start taking off in the market. Speaking of, we got 5 minutes till Powell comes out. Not till he comes out. He's going to come out in 35 minutes. We got 5 minutes until the rate hike decision comes out. Nico says, house rules when you join the stream. First thing you got to do is press the like button. Same as taking off your shoes when entering someone's home. Well done. Well done, Nico. I agree. Yeah, hit the like button. Glenn's hanging out with us. Says, every time someone me and my wife knows goes to Dubai, we ask them to buy some 22 karat gold jewelry in the amount of a gram we want. Stack it, stack it, stack it. And Trick, I do not have a diamond tester. I do not have one. See, we got to talk about this stuff. We got to have that metal show. And that's the whole thing, like, just sharing information like this so we don't make mistakes. Let me just get a quick swig here. No, nothing bad. Come on now. I still got to exercise. I think I'm going to hit the elliptical today, and I think I'm going to hit the indoor bike because it is cold AF outside, man. That cold front came in, and that got us good. Had to bring all the plants inside, too. But right now, we're looking at the crypto market. Some decent green up on the screen. I like it. Sol pumping big. I think a lot of people are staying away, though. A lot of people, I think, are worried about Sol and FTX having to dump it and knowing when to dump it. Because remember, the FTX had a whole bunch in Sol, and part of it is the firm that's dumping it for them is going to dump it at times when the market is super up. So we just got to learn, or we just got to watch moves like that and see if they do ever get suppressed by any dumping like that. I don't think the FTX is going to put that much pressure on things, but you never know, so we'll keep an eye out on doing that. We learn every day about house rules. I've been buying and selling gold and silver for 40 years. Good for you. See, Trick, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, we can learn from people that have more experience, and we can learn from people that have made more, mistakes, wins, and losses. And a lot of it, too, is, I think, sharing with each other our philosophies. Because, a lot of people are strict stackers. I do like to stack, but I also like to just keep flipping, man. Like, I love, it's just, for me, it's fun. It's just so much fun. You just kind of just keep flipping it over. Or, like, sometimes, too, it's just, like, the hunt. Or, like, for me, it's the math behind it, right? Like, okay, so, like, for real. Paying $2 for this, and I'm thinking, okay, cool. Bet you I'm going to sell this for at least $22, $25, if I'm lucky, $30. Dude, that's insane margins. Now, and I know it's not like, ooh, big dollars. Like, no, but you know how, like, cool, like, percentage-wise it is? Like, it's fun. So, like, when you're a retired gentleman like myself that, when you're cold in South Carolina, winters, it's what happens when you got the time. Virtual's hanging out with us. Hello to you, kind sir. John Kalunga says XLM. Let's take a look at XLM up on screen right now. XLM sitting at 12 cents right here. Moving, bouncing a little bit up and down here as of late. Shiganshi says, ask the local pawn shops what various hashes they use. They definitely know in shares. Trick says it all adds up. Plus, yeah, and that's the thing I do. I keep a spreadsheet of all my hits, and like for me, it's like seriously. I don't mean to like dork out too much, but like for me, guys, like it's fun. It's like a kill sheet, man. Like I love it. Like it's just, I don't know. It's like same thing like with baseball cards, and it's same thing with just all sorts of stuff. Like it's fun to do. We got a minute until Jerome Powell's rate hike announcement comes out. I'll be sure to share that with you as well. Let's see, what do we got going on? Larry BL says, sup, Klaus? I was about to take my recycling in, but caught the notification. Some dub talk with JP would be nice. Yeah, JP Dovish Tone would be pretty cool. Would be pretty cool. Trick says, don't go to pawn shops. Yeah, okay, their price to the dollar is very, very low. Very, very low. Virtual says, hope you're having a fantastic day. So far, so good. The cold front kind of sucks, but we're getting by. Let's see. Did Jerome Powell come out with the announcement yet? When they do, we're going to be sharing it. Because when that clock strikes 2 is when they're supposed to have it uploaded. Marvin Cuervo says, thumbs up from the Philippines. Well, thank you, Marvin. All right, let's take a look here and see what we got as soon. I'm hitting that refresh button, everyone. Don't you worry. Hitting it over and over and over. Feels like a New Year countdown. Yeah, except the New Year countdown. I'm drinking, hanging out. Here we go. We got it. Let's take a look at what happened. The committee will, in support of these goals, the committee decided to maintain. He took a pause, everyone. Fed took a pause. Bam. There you go. Feds took a pause. You guys good with that? I mean, it's pretty much what we were thinking. U.S. banking system is sound and resilient. Tighter financial and credit conditions for households and businesses are likely to weigh on economic activity, hiring, and inflation. So basically what they're saying is they're going to let the data tell us what we're looking for. And essentially what we're hoping for is that this does not go up on the next one. This needs to stay down. X Factor says, thanks for all you do. Klaus, thank you, X Factor. Fed took a pause. Nico says, what's the minimum value needed for a smelter to buy my stash? Okay, here's the whole thing, Nico. If you smelt something down, okay? If you smelt something down, all right? Here's the problem. If they don't know, if like you're doing silver, like if you've got it filled, right? And it's like silver filling it. So like they're going to have to send it to an assayer. And some places actually charge you to send it to the assayer. They charge you to do it. Sometimes they only charge you if it comes back as not what you say it is. But basically what you're looking for, you have to be very careful. The only thing I honestly believe we're smelting down is what I refer to as silver-plated goods that have no value. Silver-plated goods. If it's silver-plated goods that have no value, all right, cool. What's the harm you got? Smelt that stuff down. But if stuff is marked, right, 800, 925, sterling, has other stuff like that, it's validated. It may carry a lot more oomph because people already know it's validated. Once you smelt it down, I mean, they don't know. You could have put lead in the center of it and be like, oh, well, you know, this is full silver. So, yeah, just throwing it out there. Yeah, everyone loving this talk. I'm thinking maybe we should do a gold and silver show. I'm really, really thinking it. Pound Hernandez says, love to hit the yard sales from time to time. You know, I haven't done that. That would be a really cool thing to do. That would be. It's just the problem is time. And out here by me, there's just not a lot of homes. Like, I don't live in a densely populated area. Trick says, I paid $250 to get that 18 karat appraised. Yeah, you gotta know the money you put into. You gotta know and that's what I'm saying, you gotta know the margins, and that's why I love it. So Gashi says, I make tomahawks out of silver. They're part of my LLC's inventory. Very cool. Silver on the books. Crypto market pretty much expected this. We expected the Fed to do this. I'm not going to expect XRP or XLM to pump on any of this news. It's more what I'm interested in is what Jerome Powell and the Fed is going to say here in about a half an hour. But until Jerome Powell comes on the mic, whoa, my good man.
Including 12?
Until Jerome Powell comes on the mic, you guys and gals are all stuck with me. So if you've got questions, if you've got comments, 30 minutes till JP comes up on the screen. We will hang out, talk everything from crypto to precious metals to shopping for webcams so that when I have the show, not only can I show you all the whiteboard, but I can pick an extra camera angle where we could zoom in on some of, hold on everyone, on some of the precious finds. Silver. Yeah. This is silver piece. This is heavy AF. This one is heavy. This one I was happy about this one. Sorry. Dorking out a little bit. My bad, everyone. Yeah, so that's the deal. That's what we're talking about. Also talking about CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Q3 open interest for Bitcoin and other derivatives hits an all-time high. Futures and options contract. Now look, I know you can play futures to the negative, right? I know it. You can play futures to the negative. I get it. I understand. All right? The deal is, though, is continued interest means that you're still getting people wanting to play, and this is with new products. It's attracting new money. Now, is it deviating the money from spot markets? Yes, of course. But this should totally support spot markets and give us a better idea of where we're going in the future. Because I know a lot of you guys look for futures with stocks, right? in commodities. You guys, you look at the futures and you play those. So, Sniff says, Klaus, do you have any experience using Airbnb to rent out properties? No, I do not have any experience with Airbnb. Nico says, so what's up with this rumor about the ETF getting approved for it? Yeah, I haven't heard about that rumor. Dude, there's been so many rumors around that, like, I think it's just, it's so time consuming to go through them all, right? To make sure stuff is just going on. Poncho says you should definitely do a metal show. Yeah, metals would be awesome. Metals would be great. It makes me wonder though, interest wise, would it be something that we could just kind of keep reoccurring? Glenn says, I guess next time we'll get a 25 because he said there's got to be one more hike. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Glenn, because when you go back to the Fed's page, that last meeting is December 12th to 13th. So, yeah, Robert Melvin, great place to be. It's like family here. Yeah, we've got a lot of good people, a lot of good knowledge base, and I think it's worth me spending some money, getting some furniture, like display stuff. Use the other side of the studio over here, and have that as like a cool sit-down display piece, a cool hangout area where we could talk casually. Maybe we could have live streams about metals. That'd be kind of fun. Wigbusta hanging out with us. What's up, Wigbusta? How you doing? Yeah, we could hang out. We could talk your stories. You guys could share stuff with me because it's not just my stories. I want it to be about you too. And honestly, for me, everyone, that's like for some of the most fun stuff. It's the find. It's finding something that, like, for me, maybe it was like mislabeled. Like, or this item here was in a box that was all labeled plated, and I was like, that's not plated. I know what's up with that. Like, I like that kind of stuff, Or, the other cool thing, too, is I'm a big fan of things that people don't like, the gaudy stuff. Because the gaudy stuff, you can make good margins on because people don't like it for fashion. So now you're just going against people that are looking for it for, for spot markets, right? So you can, again, it's just fun stuff, man. Jimbo Tango in the house as well. What's up, Jimbo, my good man? FM Jarm says hello from Korea. Hello to you from far away. Hayward hanging out with us as well says, this is the problem as holders of XRP. We have no clue what are any companies using it. And the problem with transparency, are they scamming us? Are they being fed? No one knows. Yeah, that's true. And that's kind of the thing why I wanted to talk to everyone about metals. You can find stamps that tell you that metals are legit. But we don't know who's really using these products. We don't know. This pump here, people are wondering about. I should do another F round Friday soon. Yeah, okay. It can't be this Friday because I'm training for an ultra. And this weekend I have a 3-hour run to do, so I probably shouldn't do a fun Friday on a 3-hour run. Now, the next weekend, I only have a 10-mile run to do, so that would be the weekend to do it. So maybe we'll do something like that. Maybe we'll do a fun Friday next weekend. I don't know. It's not a bad idea. Jim Ortego says, just got back from holiday in Turkey. All good. Well, glad that you got back safe. Good to see some OG viewers going out there traveling abroad. Feel free to share any of your experience with us to Turkey. Love it. Hayward, ride out. 589, you know. Trick says, Klaus, I bought an 18-karat gold and diamond bracelet, 31-karat black diamonds, paid $6,000, valued at $51. And that's the thing, man. Like, these are the hits, dude. Like, that's fun. It's the math of it. Baseball cards. I love that, too, with baseball cards. I am big like that with Pete Rose, man. Big like that with Pete Rose stuff. Yeah, only 10 miles, dude. That's all. That's an easy one. I could knock that out. In my sleep. So maybe we don't do Fun Friday this weekend. We'll do Fun Friday next weekend when the running is a little bit less. Yeah, every other weekend I do a super long run. And I increase it a half hour every time, every other weekend, so that I can get ready for the ultra that I'm doing here soon. But, Jimbo, glad you got back in safe. Like I said, crypto market wasn't expecting much of a pump on this. Wasn't really expecting much of that action at all. Same thing, Bitcoin. The pump came earlier. That was interesting to see. Broke that 35. I was like, oh, man, careful. That was a tough one. Trick says baseball cards, excellent investment. The thing with Trick with baseball cards, I graded stuff. It's got to be graded, and it's got to be graded by and I don't want to sound like a snoot. Like, it's got to be PSA graded, man. Like, newer stuff, it's one thing. The newer market, I'm not down with, but it's the older stuff. It's got to be PSA graded. Like, that's kind of just my one thing. Sniff says, Klaus, I've been taking these beef organ pills lately because I've been adopting a vegan diet. I wouldn't do a vegan diet. I would do vegan parts of a diet, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I really wouldn't go full-on vegan because it's rough, man. It's hard to get all your stuff. Adroba says, does Jerome talk today at 2:30? Yes. Yes, he does. 2:30 is what we're waiting for with Jerome Powell on the mic. But yeah, the baseball cards one, that's why I'm big into Pete Rose. Okay, if you guys wonder why I'm really big into Pete Rose, I liked him as a player. But I also like him as a risky hedge where, dude, I have been buying, I can't even tell you how many Pete Rose cards I have. And I'm talking the old ones, not the new bullshit. I'm talking the old stuff. And I bought tons of them because I was always thinking that he should be in the Hall of Fame. That they just took it too hard on him. They took it way too hard on him. And that I was hoping that he would be in the Hall of Fame while he was alive. And if not, they'll do it posthumously. That's just my thinking. And I think at that time, I think that's when I'll be able to cash in on that. Now, that's just one of my big gambles, okay? I mean, just we talk about different, like, investments on the show. That's one of mine. All right, I have gone like balls deep in Pete Rose, man. Old Pete Rose shit. The throng that never ends is PSA or BGS. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm a big PSA fan. Big PSA fan. Glenn says, what's up, people? Just checking in from the machine shop, hanging with Klaus and getting new insights daily. Sup, Glenn? Glenn, they took a pause, just to let you know. We were all expecting that, so markets didn't move on it. In about 18 minutes, Jerome Powell comes on the mic. Dovish or hawkish? We got one meeting left. That meeting left is going to be December 13th, 12th to 13th. Are we going to get a good or a naughty Christmas? Glenn says, 10 years ago, I found some kind of Fabergé egg in silver, and if you open it, there was like a Thor inside. I found a market, it was black, bought it for, 12,500 euro, sold on eBay for, wow. You bought it for 1250 euro and sold it for 4,500. Holy crap. Holy crap. Yes, he should be in the Hall of Fame. I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, and the thing with Pete Rose that bugs me about it is now you can't watch baseball without them talking about different prop bets. Oh, what are the odds that Adolis Garcia comes back in Game 6? They're paying right now 150 on the plus on that. And you're like, dude, you guys are like talking about odds during a game, man. And like, you're giving Pete Rose shit. Like, you got, like, a game is in progress. And they're like, well, the odds of Luis Robert to hit a home run are plus 350. And you're like, dude, what the man? Nick F says, similar with coins, it has to be graded PCGS or NGC. Yeah, you do. You have to stay with your big, your big graders out there. Do you guys remember what happened with Wada Games? I think it was called Wada Games or Wada Sports. I think it was Wada Games. They were a grader for video games, like the old school NES stuff, the price of games because they had already bought a whole bunch of them, and a bunch of people they knew owned these games. So they were overinflating the price of it because no one else was grading video games. They were one of the first big players on the screen, and they just everyone up, man. Like, they just totally everyone up. So, yeah, I just thought I would share all this stuff with you. Trick says, I grade my own. Nice. You can, sealed stuff, dude. Sealed, though, is just juice. Oh, juice. Glenn says, I love the markets to find some antique stuff. Yeah, I've been kind of wondering about that. It's just, I don't live in, like, a really, like, dense populated place. So, like, for me, it's hard. It's really hard. Because, like, for me to cover, like, a lot of places, like, it's just so far away. John Connor back in the house says, baseball need to act like they care about integrity. Come on. I know, come on. Baseball tell me they care about integrity. They had FTX on the sleeve of the umpires. Come on now. Baseball integrity. Come on now. PSA stacks better. Yeah, PSA does. You can, and that's the whole thing. PSA is where it is at, man. Seriously, for like cards that were graded, I would say more than like 5-10 years ago, stick with PSA stuff. Stick with it, man. The newer stuff, you just don't know. You just really. I just don't trust the reputation. PSA is like gold standard. That's kind of what I like it. In Europe, it's mostly old stuff comes from Europe. Well, thank you, Glenn. I appreciate the old stuff from Europe in Europe. Brad says Sam will walk. God, I hope not. I hope they just fry that man. Jesus. Yeah, the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, I don't know. I haven't been following that because that's just a freaking dumpster fire. It just shows you how janky crypto got with shit. Trick says I never buy new. What are you referring to, Trick? Cards, metals, diamonds? Let me know. Because I'll tell you this, when it comes to me in buying, the only thing that I buy new, all right? The only thing I buy new is Pokemon cards. Seriously, I don't buy new baseball cards, like new packs, sealed packs. I don't, nothing like that. Now, I'll buy old sealed sets, but like of new stuff, the only thing that I will buy new will be Pokemon cards. That's it. Pokemon cards. Throwing it out there. Trick says metals. You will never. Yeah, okay, yeah, metal. Yeah, definitely never buy new on metals. You know, I don't even want to say the auction market for metals, man, could get very, very saturated. You can make good deals, Trick. You really can. I think with it depends a lot on your region too. Okay, so by me, we've got a lot of silver by me, and it's because we had a lot of farming, right? So a lot of the antiques for farms were more silver than they were gold. I start now going more towards Atlanta. I'm gonna find a huge proportion more so of gold than I will silver going that way. And like Atlanta's like 2 hours away from me, so it really depends also where you live. So it's just, I don't know. It's just difference of locale, right? Market. You got to take advantage of what you got. Adrova says, why Pokemon cards? Genuinely curious. Pokemon cards because I do like pulling. My son and I are big Pokemon card collectors. My son, like, we have gotten into it, and you know, like, think what's going to happen is my son's age, it's going to go into that market rotation where eventually the kids that are my son's age are going to be adults with money. And those adults with money are going to do what every adult with money wants to do, relive their youth. And they're going to want Pokemon cards. They're going to want the packs. They're going to want sealed stuff. They're going to want PSA. They're going to want OG set. I have OG set Pokemon cards, like, that are PSA graded. Like the OG, like the original first set. And the reason is because what's going to happen is my son's going to be able to get into it and be able to buy that rotation. That's why the OG sets of Pokemon are worth so much, because the young players that were people like me are now older and we can afford that stuff. So he's going to see the rotation as well. Did FOMC meeting happen? No, the FOMC is coming out in 12 more minutes. I've got that right up here, up on the screen. Adrova says, I had some back in 98. Hope I still have them somewhere. Yeah, hey man, OG set, dude. Gotta love the OG set. Speaking of Pokemon, I was just pricing out case of Evolving Skies when he brought up 2,700, and I bought it 1,418 months ago. Yeah, the Pokemon thing is crazy, man. There is some big money going into it. Now, it's not like what we saw, again, like a couple years ago, but it is still holding strong. Glenn says, what do you think about Funko Pops? You know, the thing is, there's a lot of them, and I think it's all going to be about relevance. Right? Like, if there's something big that comes out Star Wars, I could see the Star Wars Funko Pops popping at that price. I don't follow that market enough. My son's friend does. My son's friend is a big Funko Pop collector. We have tons of auctions out here for stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not a pro on it, but just throwing it out there. Wes Ringston says, give the guy in the red crane the one finger wave so I know it's you. Wes, I was in the Blue Ridge Parkway in June, and they had a bigger crane there, and it had a name. I'm trying to think of what the hell it was. It was like an animal's name was on the crane. Big-ass crane. It wasn't red. I thought it was blue or something like that. Maybe it was. But anyways, yeah, I saw that when I was out there in June. Trick, all limited edition. Yes. Game of Thrones collections. And that's what I'm saying. Stuff that like has like a, how do I put this, like a pop relevance, there's always rotation on that. You just have to hold it for a while. Joseph Vene says, I could be doing dishes before the kids get home. Instead, I'm watching Klaus talk about Pokemon cards. Yes! We're talking about everything. Pokemon cards, you name it. Stacking gold, silver. Jerome Powell coming on the mic here soon. Jerome Powell coming on in about 10 minutes. You got questions, comments, now's the time. XRP still holding on to that 60 cent mark. Look at this here. Making another run at it. Got rejected at that 60.5. We're going to be keeping an eye on that as things go on. XLM above 12 cents right now, sitting at 12.1. Sold a big winner, 43.25 right now. Massimo hanging out. What's up, handsome? What's up with you? Good looking. Good to see the OG viewers representing big time today. Holy shit, everyone. Near Protocol up as well. Not seeing much movement, though, in some of our other favorites. If you look at H-bar, 5.1. Hasn't moved as much. It was stuck around that 4.9 for a long, long time. XDC, 5.1. Again, not moving much as well. Glenn says, my daughter's collecting Funko Pop. She is 10 and already has $700 most for my money. See, she's a smart investor, Glenn. She's doing it with other people's money. Never invest with your own money, right? Get a loan if you're going to do that business. She's using Bank of Dad. She's a smart gal. Glenn, you've raised a smart gal. She's using Bank of Dad. Nico says it's good. XLM and XRP are building a support base. Yeah, we're noticing that. XLM definitely more of a laggard. It's crazy. Crazy to see. I did a video on that the other day. I hadn't looked at that metric in a little bit, and then I looked at it the other day when I did the video. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. On the 2-year, XLM is an insane laggard compared to XRP, and a freakish laggard compared to Bitcoin over the last 2. It's nuts. It's very nuts. Texas Sweet Tea says, hey, sorry I've been gone, had another health scare. Sorry to hear that, but glad you are here and glad you are back, or healthy enough to be back. Man, that's a good way to put it. Safe Moon CEO just got arrested. Oh my God, the list would go on of all the Do Kwon equivalents we could arrest out there. Yeah, Safe Moon. How many influencers out there were promoting Safe Moon? Huh? Dino XRP says, morning Klaus, up at 4:30 a.m. to tune in. Australia, love you. Keep up the no bullshit approach. Thank you, Dino XRP. A lot of Australian support here. A lot of Australian support on the channel. Thank you very much. Jerome Powell set to come on 8 minutes from now. Trick says, off to pick up my puppy. Whoa, holy shit. He's had 8 teeth out. His name is Murphy. He has 1,755 followers on Instagram. Holy shit, dude. Or 17,000. Oh my God, I missed a 5 in there. Jesus Christ, Trick. That's like, I like, my Instagram is like nothing. I'm like a loser on there. That's why I don't even talk about my Instagram, because it sucks so bad. Oh my God, Trick. Now I feel like a loser, dude. That's sad with the puppy, though. Now it's going to be soft food for a while. Ugh. Texas Sweet Tea says, everybody hit that like button. Appreciate it. Confliction M says, quick update, please. Fed took a pause. Said, look, banks are healthy. Said, guess what? The economy's going to slow down naturally, so we don't need to raise rates. We're going to keep an eye on things. That now pushes the big question to December 12th and 13th. Let's take a look. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's look at that contract real quick. All right, 12th and 13th. You ready? 12th and 13th has it. Right now, a 20% chance that in December they're going to raise rates. That's what this is on that the contract right now. I'm just taking a quick look at it. Okay. So, I mean, that's 80% chance of a pause. Yeah, definitely give our fur babies lots of love. I've been playing with the puppies so much lately. Oh, my God. I'll tell you, the dogs just, they really make you feel better. They're cute, cuddly, warm, especially now. Oh, love my doggies. Jerome set to go on the mic in 6 minutes. Questions, comments, get them in now. CPI data set to come out when, everyone? November 14th, so we got 2 weeks. The hope is that it looks that we go down. I think if we get another CPI that's up, I think we're kind of, I think we're guaranteeing at least a 60% chance on this contract that they're going to hit us with the quarter in December. Nico says, is Instagram the best platform that is relevant for us middle-aged folk? Dude, I don't even know if there is a good platform for people like me. My son said the other day, cute kid, man. My son said the other day, he's like, you're old, but you're in touch. I was like, well, thank you. Like, I'll take that. Now, mind you, I mean, I run laps around the damn kid, you know, and whenever it's time to be Willie Beeman hitting the gym, I'm ready to make the kid cry. But, like, yeah, I was like, okay, I'll take it. I was like, my son's like, you're old, but not out of touch. I was like, oh, I like that. That was a thing that a dad wants to hear from their son. Markets didn't move on the noise. Markets are just kind of hanging out right now. Bitcoin, though, touched 35,000. So, Sailor, I want to do some calculations for you real quick here for those of you watching. I'd love to give you kind of funky stats. So, I did some math. We talked about percentages, right? Like making hits, you know? I told you earlier I made just over 40% on that ring that I bought, okay? Had less than a couple hours in my hand, all right? I'm up like quite a bit percentage-wise on this, all right? Here's the deal. Sailor right now is up almost 20%. 20% on a multi-billion-dollar investment. Come on, man. 20%. Nico says, what platform do we use that is targeting our demographic, though? Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, my platform is this. I mean, I don't like Twitter that much. I mean, I don't know. Hard to say. Tim XD says, opinion on Molt Media. What would you like to know? I mean, I don't know. Opinions or whatever. You know what I mean? They're just whatever. Speculate on what will happen if all war breaks out in the Middle East. All right, all war breaks out in the Middle East. You are going to see a massive run to safe haven assets. Why? Because oil price will get constricted, go through the roof. That's if all out war happens. If there's supply chain disruption, all right, through the Middle East corridor because of that, or if other countries step in and kind of provide some, peripheral support, oil will go through the roof, and that will choke global markets at this point. With how much in the world is based upon import-export, and if the price of oil goes through the roof, we'd be, with inflation already high, we've been lucky that energy prices have been receding. So, yeah, I'm all out action breaks out in the Middle East. We're in deep shit. Deep shit, Glenn. And we got two Glens. We got Glenn and Glenn Sakona. So I worry about that. Full disclosure to everyone, I do have positions in oil. As soon as I started hearing news about Middle East, I took some positions. Because you know what, I felt there was a good reason to put some speculative action down on that. A little weird that it happens this time of year, but it's just how it is. So, yeah, I am playing that. Colorado is drilling like crazy. Yeah, once oil goes up, man, it really opens up the avenues to exploration that's profitable. It's same thing with the crypto market. When Bitcoin starts getting up, when more miners can turn their rigs on and make money, like that whole ecosystem just starts rolling. And when that Bitcoin ecosystem starts rolling, and these miners, if they feel like we've got some positivity in the long run, they're not going to sell all their mined Bitcoin. They're going to hold on to it, and they're going to try to price it at a higher time later. So you can also look at Bitcoin miners holding inventories to tell you what their market optimism or pessimism is as well. So, yeah, I like to share all this kind of stuff with y'all. Yes, Text Sweetie says Solana up 20%. Yeah, we've been thinking about it. I mean, talk about it seems like manipulation here with Solana. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but I come on now. Solana's got nothing good in terms of fundamentals right now going for it, especially with how much pressure there is, with how many holders that still have to get liquidated of it. I don't know. I almost kind of feel like there's some... Oh, here we go. Jerome Powell's coming on. I almost kind of feel like there's some... I I don't know, some shadiness going on with it. I really do. I just, it doesn't make sense that it would be up that much. All right, let's see here. Got some sound action. Some sound. Waiting for JP to come on the mic. Some people hanging out here. Little government approved water bottles is what it looks like, is what I'm seeing right now. Let's see, what else do we got going on? Oh my God, here we go. Big Nasties on the mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. We understand the hardship that high inflation is causing, and we remain strongly committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal. Price stability is the responsibility of the Federal Reserve. Without price stability, the economy does not work for anyone. In particular, without price stability, we will not achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. Since early last year, the FOMC has significantly tightened the stance of monetary policy. We have raised our policy interest rate by 5.25 percentage points and have continued to reduce our securities holdings at a brisk pace. The stance of policy is restrictive, meaning that tight policy is putting downward pressure on economic activity and inflation, and the full effects of our tightening have yet to be felt. Today, we decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged and to continue to reduce our securities holdings. Given how far we have come, along with the uncertainties and risks we face, the committee is proceeding carefully. We will make decisions about the extent of additional policy firming and how long policy will remain restrictive based on the totality of the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. I'll have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a strong pace and well above earlier expectations. In the third quarter, real GDP is estimated to have risen an outsized annual rate of 4.9%, boosted by a surge in consumer spending. After picking up somewhat over the summer, activity in the housing sector has flattened out and remains well below levels of a year ago, largely reflecting higher mortgage rates. Higher interest rates also appear to be weighing on business fixed investment. The labor market remains tight, but supply and demand conditions continue to come into better balance. Over the past 3 months, payroll job gains averaged 266,000 jobs per month, a strong pace that is nevertheless below that seen earlier in the year. The unemployment rate remains low at 3.8%. Strong job creation has been accompanied by an increase in the supply of workers. The labor force participation rate has moved up since late last year, particularly for individuals aged 25 to 54 years, and immigration has rebounded to pre-pandemic levels. Nominal wage growth has shown some signs of easing, and job vacancies have declined so far this year. Although the jobs to workers gap has narrowed, labor demand still exceeds the supply of available workers. Inflation remains well above our longer run goal of 2%. Total PCE prices rose 3.4% over the 12 months ending in September. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 3.7%. Inflation has moderated since the middle of last year, and readings over the summer were quite favorable. But a few months of good data are only the beginning of what it will take to build confidence that inflation is moving down sustainably toward our goal. The process of getting inflation sustainably down to 2% has a long way to go. Despite elevated inflation, longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored, as reflected in a broad range of surveys of households, businesses, and forecasters, as well as measures from financial markets. The Fed's monetary policy actions are guided by our mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. My colleagues and I are acutely aware that high inflation imposes significant hardship as it erodes purchasing power, especially for those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. We are highly attentive to the risks that high inflation poses to both sides of our mandate, and we are strongly committed to returning inflation to our 2% objective. As I noted earlier, since early last year, we have raised our policy rate by 5.25 percentage points, and we have decreased our securities holdings by more than $1 trillion. Our restrictive stance of monetary policy is putting downward pressure on economic activity and inflation. The committee decided at today's meeting to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 5.25 to 5.5%, and to continue the process of significantly reducing our securities holdings. We are committed to achieving a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation sustainably down to 2% over time, and to keeping policy restrictive until we are confident that inflation is on a path to that objective. We are attentive to recent data showing the resilience of economic growth and demand for labor. Evidence of growth persistently above potential, or that tightness in the labor market is no longer easing, could put further progress on inflation at risk and could warrant further tightening of monetary policy. Financial conditions have tightened significantly in recent months, driven by higher, longer-term bond yields, among other factors. Because persistent changes in financial conditions can have implications for the path of monetary policy, we monitor financial developments closely. In light of the uncertainties and risks and how far we have come, the committee is proceeding carefully. We will continue to make our decisions meeting by meeting based on the totality of the incoming data and their implications for the outlook and for economic activity and inflation, as well as the balance of risks. In determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate to return inflation to 2% over time, the committee will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy, the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation, and economic and financial developments. We remain committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Reducing inflation is likely to require a period of below potential growth and some softening of labor market conditions. Restoring price stability is essential to set the stage for achieving maximum employment and stable prices over the longer run. To conclude, we understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. We at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Let's go to Howard.
Howard Schneider with Reuters. Thank you, Chair Powell, for doing this. To what you referenced the rise in long-term bond yields, to what degree did that supplant action by the Fed at this meeting?
Thanks for your question. So, I'll talk about bond yields, but I want to take a second and just sort of set the broader context in which we're looking at that. So if you look at the situation, let's look at the economy first. Inflation has been coming down, but it's still running well above our 2% target. The labor market has been rebalancing, but it's still very tight by many measures. GDP growth has been strong, although many forecasters are forecasting, and they have been forecasting, that it will slow. As for the committee, we are committed to achieving a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation down to 2% over time. And we're not confident yet that we have achieved such a stance. So that is the broader context into which the strong economy and all the things I said, that's the context in which we're looking at this question of rates. So obviously we're monitoring, we're attentive to the increase in longer-term yields, and which have contributed to a tightening of broader financial conditions since the summer. As I mentioned, persistent changes in broader financial conditions can have implications for the path of monetary policy. In this case, the tighter financial conditions we're seeing from higher long-term rates, but also from other sources like the stronger dollar and lower equity prices, could matter for future rate decisions as long as two conditions are satisfied. The first is that the tighter conditions would need to be persistent, and that is something that remains to be seen. But that's critical. If things are fluctuating back and forth, that's not what we're looking for. With financial conditions, we're looking for persistent changes that are material. The second thing is that the longer-term rates that have moved up, they can't simply be a reflection of expected policy moves from us that we would then, that if we didn't follow through on them, then the rates would come back down. So, and I would say on that, it does not appear that an expectation of higher near-term policy rates is causing the increase in longer-term rates. So, in the meantime, though, perhaps the most important thing is that these higher Treasury yields are showing through to higher borrowing costs for households and businesses, and those higher costs are going to weigh on economic activity to the extent this tightening persists. And, you know, the mind's eye goes to the 8%, near 8% mortgage rate, which could have, you know, pretty significant effect on housing. So that's how I would answer your question.
Just as a quick follow-on to be clear on this, in your opening statement and just now, you seem to imply that you are not yet confident that financial conditions are restrictive enough to finish the fight. Is that true?
Yes, that's exactly right. You know, to say it a different way, we haven't made any decisions about future meetings. We have not made a determination, and we're not, I will say that we're not confident at this time that we've reached such a stance. We're not confident that we haven't, but we're not confident that we have. And that is the way we're going to be going into these future meetings, is to be, you know, just determining the extent of any additional further policy tightening that may be appropriate to return inflation to 2% over time.
Hi, Chair Powell. Thank you so much for taking our questions. I wonder, you know, if you don't raise interest rates in December, would the presumption be that at that point that we should expect that rates are at their peak, or is there a possibility of restarting rate increases next year? And are there any costs to taking a more extended pause?
So let me start by saying we haven't made a decision about September. You're asking a hypothetical there, but we're going into the December meeting. We'll get, as you know, 2 more inflation readings, 2 more labor market readings, some data on economic activity, and so we'll be taking, and also the broader situation, the broader financial conditions situation, and the broader world situation. We'll be looking at all those things as we make a decision in December. We haven't made that decision. I would say, though, that the idea that the idea that you would be difficult to raise again after stopping for a meeting or two is just not right. I mean, the committee will always do what it thinks is appropriate at the time. And again, we haven't made any decisions at all about December. We didn't talk about making a decision in December today. Really, it was a decision for this meeting and understanding broader things.
Nick Timmeros of the Wall Street Journal. Chair Powell, did the Fed staff put a recession back into the baseline forecast in the materials for today's meeting? And how much does this tightening in financial conditions substitute for rate hikes if the tightening is persistent? You had said it was worth maybe a quarter point when we had the bank failures in the spring. What is it here on something that's presumably more straightforward and more familiar to simulate?
So I guess I don't want to answer your question about the recession, but the answer is no. I think I have to answer it since we did publicly say in the minutes. You'll know anyway in the minutes. The staff did not put our recession back in. I mean, it would be hard to see how you would do that if you look at the activity we've seen recently, which is not really indicative of a recession in the near term. In terms of how to think about translation into rate hikes, I think it's just too early to be doing that. And the main reason is we just don't know how persistent this will be. You can see how volatile it is. Different kinds of news will affect the level of rates. And I think any kind of an estimate that was, you know, precise would hang out there and have a great chance of looking wrong very quickly. So I think what we can say is that financial conditions have clearly tightened, and you can see that in the rates that consumers and households and businesses are paying now. And over time, that will have an effect. We just don't know how persistent it's going to be, and it's tough to try to translate that in a way that I'd be comfortable communicating into how many rate hikes that is.
If I could follow up, I guess what makes you confident that tighter financial conditions will slow above trend growth when 500 basis points of rate hikes, QT, and a minor banking crisis have not thus far?
Well, that's the way our policy works is, and sometimes it works with lags, of course, which can be long and variable, but ultimately, if you raise raise interest rates, you do see those effects, and you see those effects in the economy now. You see what's happening in the housing market. You're seeing that now. You'll see, if you look at surveys of people, it's not a good time, they think, to buy durable goods of various kinds because rates are so high now. I mentioned again, we're getting reports from housing that the effects of this could be quite significant. But you're right. This has been a resilient economy, and it's, I think, been surprising in its resilience. And there are a number of possible reasons why that may be. Our job is to achieve maximum employment and price stability, and so we take the economy as it comes. It has been resilient, so we take it as it is.
Thank you. Colby Smith with the Financial Times. In terms of the thresholds that you've laid out of what could warrant further tightening, the additional evidence of persistently above trend growth or some kind of reversal in the recent easing of labor market tightness, that seems to suggest something more powerful than just one more quarter point rate hike would be necessary. And I'm just curious if that's how the committee sees it.
So we've identified those factors. Those are not meant to be the only factors or a specific test that we're going to be applying with some metrics behind it. Really, we're going to be looking at the broader picture and what's happening with our progress toward the 2% inflation goal. Is the labor market continuing to broadly cool off and achieve a better balance? We'll be looking at that. Growth, we look at growth insofar as it has implications for our 2 mandate goals. We look at that. And we look at broader financial conditions. So we'll be looking at all of those things as we reach a judgment, whether we need to further tighten policy. And if we do reach that judgment, then we will further tighten policy.
Okay. And just in terms of the tightening of financial conditions, if that is having some kind of offsetting effect in terms of the need to potentially, again, raise rates, what then is the potential impact on the trajectory of rate cuts? Could we see those maybe pulled forward or have to see more than what the September SEP indicated?
So the fact is the committee is not thinking about rate cuts right now at all. We're not talking about rate cuts. We're still very focused on the first question, which is have we achieved a stance of monetary policy that's sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation down to 2% over time, sustainably? That is the question we're focusing on. The next question, as you know, will be for how long will we remain restrictive? Will policy remain restrictive? And what we said there is that we'll keep policy restrictive until we're confident that inflation is on a sustainable path down to 2%. That'll be the next question. But honestly, right now, we're really tightly focused on the first question. The question of rates cuts just doesn't come up because I think it's so important to get that first question, as close to right as you can.
Steve Leisman, CNBC. Mr. Chairman, I guess I had assumed that there was a tightening bias in the committee. You say in the statement you're looking to assess the appropriate stance of monetary policy, the extent to which you may need to hike additionally. You didn't say earlier that you were sufficiently restrictive. There were forecasts for 2 rate hikes among most members of the committee. But then you just said that, we haven't made a determination. Would you say the bias right now is neutral, that there is no disposition to hike again, and that the committee largely has moved off of this forecast for 2 hikes? Or for 1 additional hike?
I think you're talking about 1 additional.
Yeah,
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I would say, the language, looking at it here, in determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate to return inflation 2% over time, that's the question we're asking.
So is it right to think of that as a hiking bias is still in the committee here?
We haven't used that term, but it's fair to say that's the question we're asking is, should we hike more? It's not, and that is the question. And you're right that in September we wrote down 1 additional rate hike, but, we'll write down another forecast, as you know, in December.
Chris.
Thank you. Chris Rugaber at Associated Press. Since the last meeting, the auto workers' strike has finished. Oil prices have leveled off. And yet, on the other hand, you have the outbreak of war between Israel and Hamas. How do you see all those factors taken together affecting the economy going forward? How are you thinking about those?
So there are significant issues out there. As you point out, global geopolitical tensions are certainly elevated, and that goes for the war in Ukraine. It goes for the war between Israel and Hamas. We're monitoring that. Our job is to monitor those things for their economic implications. So the UAW strike, as you point out, appears to be coming to an end. Oil prices have flattened out. They haven't gone down, but I guess they've gone down a little bit from their earlier peak. Another one is the possibility of government shutdown. We don't know about that one. So there's plenty of risk out there. But I would go back to the bigger picture from our standpoint is we've got a very strong economy, strong labor market, making progress on the labor market, making progress on inflation, and we're very focused on getting confident that we have achieved a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive. That's really our focus.
Great. And just one quick thing. You last month had gone to York, Pennsylvania, where you talked to last month, where you talked to a lot of small business owners. Just curious, what sentiments did you hear from them, or what did you picked up on, and was there anything that surprised you the most in terms of what they talked about?
I wouldn't say I was terribly surprised. I was very impressed by York as a town with a real strategy, and I would say it's very impressive what the people there have put together in the face of some difficult longer run trends about offshoring of manufacturing and that kind of thing. They've done a great job as a city, I think. What you hear is consistent there, which is people are really suffering under high inflation. You were there. We talked to some people who, were feeling that in their businesses, and other people who were feeling it in their home lives as well. It's painful for people, particularly people who don't have a lot of extra financial resources, who are spending most of their income on the essentials of life. So we know that wasn't new, but that did come through very clearly in the conversations we had in New York. And I walked away from that even, just thinking that we really the best thing we can do for the U.S. is to restore price stability, fully restore price stability, and not fail in that task, and do it as quickly as possible, but also with the least damage we can.
Rachel. Hi, Chair Powell. Rachel Siegel from the Washington Post. Thanks for taking our questions. You've spoken before about the pain that would likely be coming for the economy in order to get inflation down. But since the economy has not responded to rate hikes in ways that would normally be expected, have you changed your views on that at all, on how necessary or inevitable that kind of pain would be, say, for the labor market or overall growth?
Well, I think everyone has been very gratified to see that we've been able to achieve, pretty significant progress on inflation without seeing the kind of increase in unemployment that has been very typical of rate hiking cycles like this one. So that's a historically unusual and very welcome result. And the same is true of growth. We've been saying that we need to see below potential growth, and growth has been strong, but yet we're still seeing this. I still believe, and my colleagues, for the most part, I think still believe, that it is likely to be true. It is still likely to be true, not a certainty, but likely, that we will need to see some slower growth and some softening in the labor market conditions to get to fully restore price stability. So, but it's only a good thing that we haven't seen, and I think we know why. Since we lifted off, we have understood that there are really two processes at work here. One of which is the unwinding of the distortions to both supply and demand from the pandemic and the response to the pandemic, and the other is restrictive monetary policy, which is moderating demand and giving the supply side time to recover, time and space to recover. So you see those two forces now working together to bring down inflation. But it's that first one can bring down inflation without the need for higher unemployment or slower growth. It's supply side improvements like shortages and bottlenecks and that kind of thing going away. It's getting a significant increase in the size of the labor market now, both from labor force participation and from immigration. That's a big supply side gain that is really helping the economy, and it's part of why GDP is so high, is because we're getting that supply. So we welcome that, but I think those things will run their course, and we're probably still going to be left, we think, and I think, we'll still be left with some ground to cover to get back to full price stability, and that's where monetary policy and what we do with demand is still going to be important.
Against that backdrop, if you've gotten any clarity on lags, if you have an economy that's been so resilient to high rate increases, does that suggest to you that there isn't necessarily this huge wave of tightening that's still coming through the pipeline and that it may have already come into effect?
You know, I continue to think it's very hard to say. So it's been 1 year at this meeting. 1 year ago, this was the fourth of our 75 basis points hikes. So that's a full year since then. I think we are seeing the effects of all the hiking we did last year, and this year we're seeing it. It's very hard to know exactly what that might be. But you can, for example, an example of where you wouldn't have felt this yet is debt that had been termed out. But it's going to come due and have to get rolled over next year or the year after. So, and there are little things like that where the effects are just taking time to get into the economy. So I think we have to make monetary policy under great uncertainty about how long the lags are. I think trying to get a clear answer and say, oh, I'm just going to assume this is really not a good way to do it. And this is one of the reasons why we have slowed the process down this year, was to give monetary policy time to get into the economy. And it takes time, we know that, and you can't rush it. So slowing down is giving us, I think, a better sense of how much more we need to do if we need to do more.
You need slower growth. You had always said before a period of lower than trend growth. Has that changed? And two, it sounds to me like you're basically saying here that the dot plots out the window, that every meeting is live with the possibility of a rate increase for right now. It doesn't matter about the turn of the year, and that there's not an objective way to determine whether or not you've got enough tightening in the system. It's just going to be a subjective judgment meeting by meeting.
Well, so let's talk about the dot plot first. So the dot plot is a picture in time of what the people in the committee thinks is likely to be appropriate monetary policy in light of their own personal economic forecast. In principle, when things change, that's not like a plan that anybody's agreed to or that we will do. That's a forecast that would change, for example. I mean, many things could change that would cause people to say, I wouldn't write down that dot, 6 weeks later. Think of the number of things that could change your mind on that. So I think the efficacy of the dot plot probably decays over the 3-month period between that meeting and the next meeting. But nonetheless, it's out there, and we do personally update our forecast, but we don't formally update the dot plot. So, I think we try to be as transparent as we can about the way we're thinking about these things. We're laying out there our thinking, and as we approach the meeting, we'll all be, my colleagues and I will be talking about how we're processing that data. In terms of, we're not really changing the way, in terms of growth, what I said was below potential. So what you have here recently is growth that is temporarily, potential growth is elevated for a year or two right now over its trend level. So the right way to think about it is what's potential growth this year. People think trend growth over a long period of time is a little bit less than 2%, or I would say just around 2%. But what we've had is with the improvement in the size of the labor force, as I mentioned, through both participation and immigration, and with the better functioning in the labor market, and with the unwinding of the supply chain and shortages and those kinds of things, you're seeing actually elevated potential growth. There's catch-up growth that can happen in potential. And that means that if you could be growing at 2% this year and still be growing below the increase in the potential output of the economy. I hope that's clear. That's really what's going on. That's why I would say it as below potential.
But if you could clarify what I asked about meeting by meeting, are we essentially now supposed to assume that it's a meeting by meeting, live meeting with a chance of a rate increase that will be decided on subjective criteria rather than objective at each meeting?
I don't know that I want to just accept anybody's characterization of it. I'll tell you how we're doing this. So we're going meeting by meeting. We're asking ourselves whether we've achieved a stance of policy that is sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation down to 2% over time. That's the question we're asking. We're looking at the full range of economic data, including financial conditions and all of those things that we look at. And then we've come very far with this rate hiking cycle, very far. And you saw the spread at the September meeting of, it's a relatively small spread of people think 1 or 2 additional hikes. So you're close to the end of the cycle. That was an impression a belief as of September. It's not a promise or a plan of the future. And so we're going into these meetings one by one. We're looking at the data. As I mentioned, we're also, we're being careful. We're proceeding carefully because we can proceed carefully at this time. Monetary policy is restrictive. We see its effects, particularly in interest-sensitive spending and other channels. So that's how I think about it.
Neil. Thanks. Hi, Chair Powell. Neil Irwin with Axios. In light of the run-up in long-term yields we've seen the last several weeks, have you given any consideration to the pace of your asset runoff program? And if there were a judgment that the higher term premium was endangering the dual mandate goals, would that be reason to think about slowing or suspending QT, or should we think of that as more of a technical question around reserves?
So committee is not considering changing the pace of balance sheet runoff. It's not something we're talking about or considering. And I know there are many candidate explanations for why rates have been going up. And QT is certainly on that list. It may be playing a relatively small effect, although I would say at $3.3 trillion in reserves, it's not. I think it's hard to make a case that reserves are even close to scarce at this point. So that's not something that we're looking at right now.
Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. I wanted to ask about the Basel III endgame capital proposal. You've gotten a lot of pushback from people on different aspects of the proposal, and you yourself expressed some reservations. And I'm just curious, could you accept finalizing that proposal without significant changes?
So that proposal is out for comment, and we expect a lot of comment. We won't get those comments until the end of, until well into next year. We've extended the deadline. And we'll take them seriously. We'll read them. I'll say what I do expect is that we will come to we're a consensus-driven organization. We'll come to a package that has broad support on the board.
So does broad support mean more support than the proposal had?
It means broad support.
Janelle Marte with Bloomberg. So in addition to persistence, when you look at long-term treasury yields, what else are you watching to evaluate how those tighter financial conditions are hitting the economy, and if it will lessen the need for further tightening? Also, do you think that those higher yields could affect banking stress?
So what do we look at? We look at a very wide range of financial conditions. And in fact, as you'll know, different organizations publish different financial conditions indexes, which can have 7 or 8 variables, or they can have 100 variables. So there's a very rich environment, and we tend to look at a few of them. I'm not going to give you the names, but they're a few of the common ones that people look at, and so they're looking at things like the level of the dollar, the level of equity prices, the level of rates, the credit spreads. Sometimes they're pulling in credit availability and things like that. So it isn't any one thing. We would never look at, for example, long-term treasury rates in isolation, nor will we ignore them. But we would look at them as part of a broader picture. And they do play a role, of course, in many of the major standard financial condition indexes. Your second question was? Banking stress. So it's something we're watching. As you know, we did have, there were issues with interest rate risk and also, funding uninsured deposits in the things we went through in March and thereafter. And so we've been working a lot with financial institutions to make sure that they have good funding plans and that they have a plan for how to deal with the kind of portfolio unrealized losses that they have. We do think the banking system is quite resilient. We had a handful of bank failures, but So that's what we're out there doing. And we don't have any reason to think that these rate hikes are materially changing that picture, which is one of a strong banking system and one where there's a strong focus by banks and by supervisors on liquidity, on funding, and those sorts of things.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Scott Horsley from NPR. Last week, you and your colleagues put forward a proposal to lower the cap on debit card swipe fees for comment. Could you just talk a little about the considerations there, what it would mean for merchants, for banks, for consumers, and also just what y'all are seeing in terms of the use of both debit and credit cards in the payment system?
You know, so you're right. We put a proposal out for comment is what we did. And, you know, this is a job that Congress assigned us, as you of course know, in Dodd-Frank, and all we can really do is faithfully implement the statute. That's all we're trying to do. What else can we really do? It's a 90-day comment period. We typically don't comment on these things once they're out for comment, and we do hope that stakeholders, and we know that they will use this opportunity to express their views. They haven't been shy about that. So that's critical, and that's what I can say about that now.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Edward Lawrence with Fox Business. So over the last 3 months, the year-over-year PCE inflation was at 3.4%, core well over 3%. You've said in the past 2% remains the Federal Reserve target, but with no rate increase today, how long would you be okay then with a 3% or 3% plus overall inflation?
You know, the progress is probably going to come in lumps and be bumpy, but we're making progress. You know, I think the core PCE came down by almost 60 basis points in the third quarter. So if you, the best thing I could point to you to would be the September SEP, where you know, the expectation was that inflation by the end of next year on a 12-month trailing basis would be well into the twos, and the year after that further into the twos. So that's if you look historically, that's sort of consistent with the way inflation comes down. It does take some time, and as you get as you get further and further from those highs, it may actually take longer time. But the good news is we're making progress, and monetary policy is restrictive, and we feel like we're on a path to make more progress, and it's essential that we do.
Well, you've said in the past that doing too little on interest rates could take years to fix, but the cost of doing too much could be easily fixed. How robust was the debate about this pause on the doing too little side?
That's always the question we're asking ourselves, and we know that if we fail to restore price stability, the risk is that expectations of higher inflation get entrenched in the economy, and we know that that's really bad for people. Inflation will be both higher and more volatile. That's a prescription for misery, and so we're really committed to not letting that happen. You know, for the first year or so of our tightening cycle, the risk was all on the side of not doing enough. We've come far enough that the risks have gotten more two-sided. You can't identify that with a lot of precision, but it does feel like the risks are more two-sided now. But we're committed to getting inflation back down to our target over time, and we will.
Simon Urbinovich with The Economist. Quick follow-up to the question about banking stresses. You talked about how the banking system is resilient. Of course, part of the resilience of the past year stems from the Bank Term Funding Program that you launched in March. Given that bond prices have not recovered, that unrealized losses are probably mounting, how likely is it that you might have to extend that program in March next year?
Good question. We haven't really been thinking about that yet. It's November 1, and that's a decision we'll be making in the first quarter of next year.
Okay. Sorry, quick separate question about inflation expectations. The Michigan Sentiment Survey showed a big jump in one-year ahead inflation expectations last month from 3.2 to 4.2. Last year, you said that particular survey was a really decisive factor in one of your rate hike decisions. If it stays elevated next time around, how big of an input will that be into your December thinking?
Yeah, we look at a range of things. I think the UM thing got blown out of proportion a little bit. It was actually a preliminary estimate that got revised away, and I said it was preliminary in that, but that didn't get picked up. So We look at many, many things. And so really look across the broad array of surveys and also market-based estimates. And, and we do that really carefully at every meeting and between meetings. And, it's just clear that inflation expectations are in a good place. The public does believe that inflation will get back down to 2% over time. And it will. They're right. So, and there's no real crack in that armor. You can always find one reading that is a little bit out of whack, but honestly, the bulk of them are just very clear that the public believes that inflation will come down, and that's, of course, we believe that's critical in winning the battle.
Hi, Chair Powell. Megan Casella with Barron's. Thanks for taking our questions. I wanted to see if you could talk about the neutral rate. You mentioned today that you're still debating whether rates are sufficiently restrictive, and you've recently said that evidence is suggesting policy is not too tight right now. So I was curious if you could elaborate on that at all and whether that means the neutral rate, in your view, has risen.
Yeah. So first thing to say is that it's very important. It's a very important variable in the way we think about monetary policy, but you can't identify it with any precision in real time, and we know that. So you have to just take that. You have to take your estimate of it with a grain of salt. What we know now is, within a range of estimates of the neutral rate, policy is restrictive, and it's therefore putting downward pressure on economic activity, hiring, and inflation. So we do talk about this. There's not any debate or attempt to sort of agree as a group on whether our star has moved or not. Some people think it has. Some people haven't said that don't think it has. Ultimately, it's unknowable, and so really, again, what we're focused on is looking at the data and giving ourselves a little more time now to look carefully at the data by being careful in our moves. Does it feel like monetary policy is restrictive enough to bring inflation down to 2% over time? That's the question we're asking ourselves. I think, years from now, economists will be revising their estimates of R star as it existed on November 1, 2023. We can't really wait for that in making policy. We have to we have to have those models and look at them and think about them, but ultimately, we've got to look at the effects that policy's having, accounting for the lags, which makes it difficult.
If I could follow up on a wages point earlier, you talked about the inflation outlook, but I'm curious if you have any concerns whether wage inflation at its current level could risk pushing up overall inflation or reacceleration.
So if you look at the broad range of wages, they have wage increases have really come down significantly over the course of the last 18 months to a level where they're substantially closer to that level that would be consistent with 2% inflation over time, making standard assumptions about productivity over time. So it's much closer than it was. And that's true of the ECI, which is the one that we got this week. It's true of average hourly earnings and compensation per hour too. So, and all of them are kind of saying that, which is great. And you have to look at a group of them because any one of them can be idiosyncratic in any given reading. So that's what you see. And so what you saw with the ECI reading was, if you look back it comes out 4 times a year. If you look back a couple of quarters, you'll see it was much higher, and then it came down substantially in June. And then the September reading was more or less at the same level as the June reading. So in a way, it's just validating that decline. And it was very close to our expectations internally, too. So I think we feel good about that. Also, I would say it isn't, in my thinking, it's not the case that wages have been the principal driver of inflation so far. Although I do think it's fair to say that as we go forward, as monetary policy becomes more important relative to the supply side issues I talked about and the unwinding of the pandemic effects, it may be that the labor market becomes more important over time too.
Hi, Nancy Marshall-Genzer with Marketplace. Chair Powell, are you now as concerned about overshooting and raising interest rates too much as you are about getting inflation down to the 2% target?
So as I mentioned, I think for much of the last year and a half, the concern was not doing too much, not doing enough. It was not getting rates high enough in time to avoid having inflation expectations, higher inflation expectations, become entrenched. So that was the concern. I think we've reached now more than 18 months into this. You can see by the fact that we have slowed down, although that we're still trying to gain confidence in what the appropriate stance is. But you can see that we think, and I think, that the risks are getting more balanced. I'll just say that they're getting more balanced. The risk of doing too much versus the risk of doing too little are getting more closer to balance, because policy is I think clearly restrictive at 5.25% to 5.5%. That range, if you take off a mainstream estimate of the expected inflation, take 1 year inflation, you're going to see a real policy rate that is well above mainstream estimates of a neutral policy rate. Now that's arithmetic. It doesn't really, what the proof is really in how the economy reacts. But I would say that we're in a place where those risks are getting closer to being in balance.
And you said the proof is how the economy reacts. What are you looking at to be sure you're not overshooting?
Well, I think what we're looking at is, is inflation still broadly cooling? Is it sort of validating the path we saw over the summer, where inflation was clearly cooling and coming down? Now, we've seen periods like that before, and there hasn't been follow through. The data have bounced back. So what are we seeing? Are we seeing, is inflation still coming down? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, in the labor market, what we've seen is a very positive rebalancing of supply and demand, partly through just much more supply coming online, and with labor demand still clearly remaining very strong. When you have the kind of job growth we've had over the last quarter, it's still very strong demand. So, and you see wage increases coming down, as we discussed, but coming down, in a kind of gradual way. I think that's what we want to see, that whole set of processes continue.
Brian Mena, CNN. Do you think that has been any structural change in either consumption or in the job market that's pushing up consumption? You obviously saw the third quarter GDP figures, which were strong, and some economists have expected revenge spending to have fizzled out by now. So I'm kind of wondering if there's been any structural change in consumption.
I wouldn't say there's been a structural change in consumption. I would say it's certainly been strong. And so a couple of things. We may have underestimated the balance sheet strength of households and small businesses, and that may be part of it. There may be, from the pandemic, when they couldn't spend on services really at all, or in-person services. And, there can still be more of that than we think, although at a certain point we're going to be getting back to pre-pandemic levels of savings. We may not be there yet. So clearly people are still spending. The dynamic has been really strong job creation, with now wages that are higher than inflation in the aggregate anyway. And that raises real disposable income, and that raises spending, which continues to drive more hiring. And so you've had that whole dynamic has been, and also at the same time, the pandemic effects are wearing off, so that goods availability, automobile availability is better, or was better. I think it still is. And from a business standpoint, there are more people to hire, and there's more labor supply. So the whole thing has led to more growth, more spending, and that kind of thing. And it's been good. And the thing is, we've been achieving progress on inflation in the middle of this. So it's been a dynamic. The question is, how long can that continue? And I just think the existence of this second set of factors at this time, which is the unwinding of the pandemic effects, that's what makes this cycle unique, I think. And we're still learning. That took longer for that process to begin than we thought, and we're still learning about how it plays out. That's all we can do.
So to
Daniel for the last question.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Daniel Avis from Agence France Presse. Just a quick question following up on an earlier one. With regards to the Israel-Hamas conflict, the Fed's financial stability report said the Israel-Hamas conflict and the conflict in Ukraine pose important risks to global economic activity, including the possibility of sustained disruptions to regional trade in food, energy, and other commodities. You've had organizations like the World Bank warning of a possible surge in oil prices if the war spreads to other countries in the region. I'm just wondering how the Fed is monitoring these developments in the Middle East. You mentioned they are, and just what the potential economic impact could be if the conflict does spread to other countries in the region. Thank you.
I wouldn't want to speculate too much, but I'll just say, so, really the question there is, does the war spread more widely, and does it start to do things like affect oil prices in particular, since this is the Middle East we're talking about? The price of oil has really not reacted very much so far to this. As the Fed, as the Federal Open Market Committee, our job is really to understand the economy and the economic effects. And it isn't clear at this point that the conflict in the Middle East is on track to have significant economic effects. That doesn't mean it isn't incredibly important and something for people to take really important notice of. But it may or may not turn out to be something that matters for the Federal Open Market Committee as an economic body. But what the Financial Stability Report does is it calls out risks, and that's what it's doing, is calling out a risk of that. And the war in Ukraine, the same. War in Ukraine, did have immediately very significant macroeconomic implications because of the connection to commodities. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't need that kind of background music going on. All right, let's digest, let's unpack. Actually, let's talk about the big thing in the room right now. And that's Jerome Powell talking about we want lower wages. Yes, you heard him correctly. Powell wants lower wages. He wants less buying power. At the end, he was talking about the savings that families accrued during the Rona times, right, during the pandemics. Basically saying, you know what, we knew that people were inside, they weren't spending money, they were not able to go out, stuff like that, right? There was stimulus money injected, and so what happened was families built up this war chest during that time, okay, statistically speaking. Now, one of my earlier videos had to do with families and savings, okay, and the report showed that the higher the income class of family was, the higher of a percentage they were saving during the pandemic, okay? So basically, the more money someone made, the more percentage they were able to spend. The less money, the less percentage, okay? And what they were saying was that the lowest income portions were still saving. And at that time, I think they were talking about like a 20% savings rate. It was freaking crazy, okay? And the amount that they were spending was higher than normal, but it was less than other income groups, right? Your middle income group saved the middle amount, upper, and so forth. What Jerome is essentially looking for is making it so that all of these effects with rate hikes get all the way up to the middle class, so it encompasses most of the buying power within the United States. So that consumer-driven items now start getting weaker, right? Affecting the supply and demand part about it. It's dangerous, and it's dangerous because as inflation goes up, the families and incomes that get affected the most and the fastest are lower income families. Why? Because they don't have the savings, they don't have the income. They credit-wise, they're going to be using it up faster. They're going to be using credit up faster at a higher interest rate, which is a really, really big problem. So what's going to happen is you're going to see the lower income classes get crushed with debt, get crushed with the interest, and that's going to suppress their buying power. Now, since we have a lot of people in the United States at that lower income level, if that gets suppressed and crushed, then that then would suppress and crush what everyone, the demand on goods and services. So by crushing the lower class, we're hoping to crush that demand, which would then mean suppliers would have to start tailoring their prices to meet that lowering of demand. So yeah, it's completely a mess, completely disjointed. William Meredith has something that brought up, and I was thinking this too. Biden brags about the UAW 25% increase to wages and benefits. Powell wants lower wages. Which is it exactly? The government wants to tout everything about wage increase, wage growth, wage this and that. They like that because that means inflation. The government is addicted to inflation because they like big numbers. It's just how we've seen it, right? And this inflation is happening because the government themselves are not being efficient. When the government's not efficient, what are they doing? They're misusing our funds. Maybe they're effective with 80 cents to the dollar for every dollar of taxpayer money they get, and that would be at like the most optimistic. I would say they're closer to 20-30%. And we're seeing that inflation is just carrying through. That mismanagement of money is carrying through. So yeah, very frustrating to see this. Very frustrating to see governments out there not acting. Because the reason the Fed is doing this, okay, and I get it, right? Don't shoot the messenger. The reason the Fed is getting into this so much is because the government's not doing anything about supply chain disruptions. Think of the first few months during the pandemic, right? Lumber was crazy expensive. Then all of a sudden other building material starts getting it. It was a fucking mess, man. It was a total mess. And then what we saw, ripple effects later, right? Remember eggs, chicken wings, like it all had effects. And governments at that time could have done things. They could have eased restrictions. They could have made it so that manufacturing could have existed. But no, they decided to pick what was important and what wasn't. And it just made a mess out of things. And we're still dealing with that. In fact, the previous economic report, not the one that just was released, but the one that was released in the previous meeting, talked about several more years of economic disruption globally, with some locales, Africa being one of them, experiencing problems for 5 to potentially 7 more years of economic disruptions, supply chain disruptions, along with inflation spikes. So when you think of that, we've got some messiness going on. Von Argyle says, sometimes I wonder if the world is being run by smart people who are putting us on, or by imbeciles who really mean it. Yeah, the thing with the imbeciles who really mean it, I think these people overcomplicate things, and I think they're out of touch. They don't really look at what the situation is as a whole. Birdbrain Investments says, gotta go, guys. Great group. Thank you very much, Birdbrain, for joining us. Yeah, great group here, everyone. Seriously, the chat is awesome. For those of you watching and listening, did you notice that I was hanging out with the chat for about like 45 minutes before the stream started? It was awesome. It was awesome. I loved hanging with y'all in the chat even before the stream started. Last Chance says, I've worked for over 40 years and this old fool just took what little I could save away from me. What's the point? And that's what it is, Last Chance. That's what they want from you. They want you to stop spending. They want you to stop spending, and they want you to start taking advantage of the interest rates your money would get if you were to park it rather than spend it. They want that because they want pressure put on these companies. There's 2 different reports, right? We cover often on this show PPI data, okay? Producer Price Index. Or I'm sorry, CPI data, Consumer Price Index. The other report that comes out is PPI, the Producer Price Index, what prices the producers are paying. Now, here's the problem. The Producer Price Index spiked here. The last report spiked. It was not good. It was really bad. The problem with the PPI going up is producers are pushing that cost onto us, right? Onto you and me, which then drives up the CPI. So if PPI is going up and these producers are going to consistently pass on the cost to us, then there's a big problem. You're going to see you're going to see prices for these products go even higher, driving inflation, where that's not good. Arnut Gomer says, aloha, Klaus. Aloha to you, sir. Appreciate it. Robert Melvin says, pays to tune in early to the channel. It does to pay tune in early because I often join in early and hang out with y'all in chat. We go around. It's a lot of fun. Steve Meredith is always a pleasure with you, Klaus. Excellent chat. Loads of info. Noble. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, I will say, I'll say this as a personal thing. I think it's safe and I think it's okay for me to share this with y'all, is it is hard to know that Hopium channels grow faster. It really is, because like when you're on the other side of the camera, like where I'm at, we're talking about doing the right things, information, you know, feeding people information that's the right stuff, no agendas, you know, bullshit like that. And it's just hard when people want to be spoon-fed information, right? The whole sheep type thing. But I will say this, though. This is the right way of doing it. Sharing information, good or bad, positive or negative, you bet your butt we're going to keep doing it. Christopher Merton says, lost everything 3 times, done with this tyrannical BS. Brad says, Klaus, Hopium channels also have more on followers. Good point. I would have to say, like, community-wise for this channel, we got some sharp people here. People that really, really get it, and I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Now, when I'm looking at some crypto prices, okay, just throwing it out there. Oh, Brad has a nice compliment. Brad says, your channel will naturally have smarter people. Well, thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. That was a nice comment. I do appreciate that. XRP 61 cents right now. Love seeing this move. We're actually near the high. You know what? Let's zoom in on this XRP move here just a little bit. Ooh, look at that. XRP making the move above 61 cents. XLM making the move above 12.2. Crypto Bob says, always enjoy hanging out with you. Chat, Klaus, yourself. Always informative, lightning, intelligent. Yes. Crypto Bob, seriously, legit group. Legit group. Yeah, as Stephen Meredith says, England, we have a lot of support from across the pond. We have a lot of support from Australia here. It's really good to see the community. The Greek 1980 says, that's why we will eat the bugs. No more meat. Tyson's Foods is creating a bug food factory. Yeah, you know, that's the thing, right? If we're going to start going into lockdowns for, like, helping the earth and all this kind of stuff, man, I'm just going to be like, look, all right? I'm just going to, like, raise goats and cows in my backyard or something like that, because holy shit. Robert Melvin hanging out with, as all the Rev chilling out with the group. Yeah, we knew not much was going to happen price-wise during this. His dovish tone was something that was very welcomed. I think we all appreciated that. Bitcoin's making another move here. I'm telling you guys, Bitcoin 35,000 is exciting, but it didn't hold. It tried earlier, but it didn't hold. They will make raising goats and cows illegal clause. Yeah, a lot of places when they're doing building for stuff, they're doing it where it's like city water dependent, where they don't want you doing well water. I don't like that. That bothers me quite a bit. Text Sweet Tea says, okay, my dog is okay. I'm back. Good to hear. That's very important because we are a very pet-friendly channel. Von Argyle hits us up with, just remember, people will tell you what you want to hear. A friend will tell you what you don't want to hear. Ooh, I like it. I like it. All right, here's what we got to do because I still have to train today, and I have an auction that's ending in 3.5 hours, so I got a shitload to do. Let's do this. Let's roll the stream till 3:40. All right? Let's take the stream till 3:40. Now's the time for your questions, comments, whatever you want. All right? You've got 7 minutes. Hit me up now. Let's talk about it. Texas Sweet Tea says 19 years old. Holy crap, that is an old dog. Good for you, man. Good for you. That is, our shepherd passed away at 8. So, I mean, oh my God, 19. I am so jealous of you. You do whatever you can to keep that dog comfy. Let's see. Brad says, have a good trading, Klaus. Yes, I got to do a bike and a run today. Not too much fun because I delayed it. I knew I had to get ready for the stream, so I was thinking of working out before the stream, but I wasn't ready food-wise, and I was watching some auction stuff, so I made sure I prioritized you all first, so I pushed my training out way later. By the way, training-wise, for anyone listening right now, my training run this weekend, you ready, is 3 hours long. Yeah. 3 hours long. Gonna have some fun with that one, especially because it's gonna be cold AF. So not only will I be doing a 3-hour run, I will be carrying all my gear with me, food, drinks, and everything. I will also have to carry multiple clothes because it's gonna be cold as hell. Oh, man. Robert Melvin says, hit the like button on the way out and show some love. Yes, please do hit the like button if y'all don't mind. Means a lot to me to see the like count go up because it helps with the algorithms spreading the channel. Now, speaking of channel and spreading the growth, I just wanted to say for everyone out there, if you missed part of the stream, it will be in the live stream playlist when this is done, okay? So even if you missed the part with Jerome talking, don't worry, we'll have your back. That will upload as soon as we're done with this. Code 9 says, thank you, Klaus. I appreciate it, Code 9. Thank you for chiming in and joining us on the day. Heat map, what's it looking like? Well, it looks not that bad, actually, right now. Sol's pumping pretty big, and people are wondering why. Gotta be honest with you. Sol's pumping big, yet BNB's not making much of a move. People are going to be asking questions. Moshtaba says, as always, thank you. Hope we can meet in person when I get a chance to come to USA. That would be awesome. That would be very cool. Yeah, I was thinking about that for people that live out on the East Coast, letting y'all know where I'm racing at for my ultra marathon. If you wanted to swing by and say hi. I'm thinking about it. Last Chance says, we have chickens, but now the feed is so high in price, it's not worth the trouble. Yeah, that's the thing, Last Chance. They're starting now to pull all the hay and junk like that, so they get their feed piles ready for all the livestock during the winter out here, because it just doesn't grow as much, obviously, with the sun. And the prices for stuff is crazy. And it's not just the feed, but like the supplies for these animals too is going through the roof. Galvanized steel, like the fencing and stuff, you're paying more for. So it's just a lot of junk like that. You're just getting nickel and dime to death. One of y'all said on the chat, and you had a really good comment. You said cars were just too expensive. It's true. New cars have not broken yet. Used cars, the bubble has popped in terms of its peak. But it's not like they've deflated completely. Used cars are still commanding a big premium. Big premium. Trick says, Klaus, great show. I'm having a late one tonight. Storm coming. Ooh, be safe there, Trick, my good man. I'm going to be obviously doing some auction action. Trick, you know what I'm doing. Auction ends at about 7 p.m. my time, so I got 3.5 hours to go. I've got a little training in the meantime. So, Trick, make sure you stay safe with the storm. Get those battery-safe extra blankets. You know the deal, my good man. Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is, you know, now that we're getting into the winter weather, right, we know heating oil prices are going to go up. That's going to put some pressure on the market, too. I want to see what happens there with heating oil. I'm also going to be following propane, seeing what happens with propane. Been very interesting. Von Argyle says, we've been getting screwed on used vehicles since the whole cash for clunkers BS. Yeah, that's right, cash for clunkers. Oh my God, it was like, if you could just get a car to the dealership, they would give you like $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever it was towards a new car. I remember that. Yeah, cash for clunkers. Way to bring that up. I like that one. William Meredith says, Canadian prices for everything is nuts. Here's the problem. One of the things with Canadian prices for grain-related products were always high because the Canadian grain growing season is so short. Well, here's the problem. Now, natural grain prices are even higher. So Canada, like your grain prices, your cereals and all that grain stuff is through the roof, man. I've been following a lot of Canadian CPI data. Dude, food prices for Canada are rough. I feel for my Canadian viewers out there. Y'all are getting it rough out there. In grains, rough. Canadians with alcohol costs, rough as well. It's a mess. It's seriously a mess. Stephen Meredith says, England prices are high for most things. Wages not keeping up, news is always gloomy. Stephen Meredith, there's a channel viewer that I talk to very often, and we talk about housing in England, and how housing in England is becoming like an elitist thing. And if you're going to get a house in England right across the pond, here's the problem. You're going to be spending a huge proportion of your wages. You're broke on everything else. That's not a feasible system, you know? Sniff says, hilarious how they call older, more reliable cars clunkers while the new ones are actual clunkers. Yeah, all the plastic pieces. Oh, so annoying. Williams hitting it up, says $3 for a loaf of bread. That's my point. Like, and we're talking about the crappy, squishy white bread that you could just, like, shrink and, like, smush up into a ball, man. It's crazy stuff here. Oh, gosh. It's sad, right? Inflation, I believe, is underreported, and the people are dealing with it. For me, so we've got 4 dogs. My dog food price is through the roof. I mean, it's through the roof anyways because I've got 4 freaking dogs, right? Here's the issue, though. The issue is that the price per pound of dog food goes up. Now, most my dogs, they get tons of eggs, tons of raw meat, tons of chicken, tons of beef. They get tons of fruits and vegetables. So it's not just the dog feed, but it's all of like the natural food we feed our pets too. So like with 4 dogs, I mean, that gets rough, man. That gets really rough. So Yeah, we're seeing it everywhere, man. The pinch is happening to everyone. All right, we are getting close to shutting it down, everyone. I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone for the support of the channel. Your comments have been amazing. Views have been up. Hey, what about, Heavy Metal Mondays with Klaus talking about a little metal, silver, something in like that? I think it'd be kind of cool, kind of fun to do. Chat was lit AF during this whole thing. Hey, I even jumped on early to hang out with y'all. Martin O'Connor says high interest rates or higher inflation. Which is better? Jesus, they both run hand in hand. Unfortunately, neither is good. They both suck. Ugh. Lots of people bought houses years before the interest rates went up. Now deals are coming to an end. They will feel the pain. That is true. That is true. So people out there thinking that housing prices are going to crash, it's not going to happen. Why? Because a ton of people bought homes before the rates went up, and they don't have to sell. Because home prices went up. Now they're crazy in the money. What they're going to do is you're going to see the next housing boom price-wise. When rates start coming down, prices are going to go up even further. You're going to have pent-up demand on the buy side for homes. There is no inventory right now. Housing is where it's at. Ooh, spatulas. Robert Melvin, don't you bring up spatulas. My puppies now have eaten, I can't tell you how many. Okay. All right. For all you ladies out here, give me a little bit of sympathy, okay? So my wife, she loves her Pioneer Woman stuff. Pioneer Woman, the glassware, the spoons, cookware, you get it, okay? So she's got a whole bunch of Pioneer Woman spoons where it's like the wooden handle, with like the rubber tip, like spatula spoons, that thing, so we don't scrape up any of the non-stickware stuff. Well, guess what, everyone? The dogs ate the wooden handle spoons, the whole set. Okay, I got you one more, Robert Melvin, because Spatula City is getting a lot of my business. Not only is it the wooden spoons, but the best part is the dogs have now chewed up three spatulas. A fourth one is the corner chewed up. It's kind of usable. If you want to make scrambled eggs, it's great because the edge is all cut, so it like cuts your eggs as you do it. So yeah, there you go. Spatula City, getting my business because my dogs keep eating everything. Oh, man. All right, everyone, this is what I'm going to do. Play some music. Make sure to say your goodbyes to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for the support of the channel. I will catch you all later. Hey, music.
You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, oh, oh,
Big thank you to Martin O'Connor for supporting the channel. Everyone who's here now, give Martin a big thank you. Thank you, kind sir.
baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Can't twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my